This video is presented by June O'Brien, Cummings Library Write Club, Palm City, Florida. Short story writing. Based upon Charles Raymond Barrett's book, The Art of the Short Story. Copyrighted in 1889, a time when William Sidney Porter, known by his pen name O. Henry, was one of the best American short story writers. The review of last video, Chapter 2, Ideas, Characters, and Dialogue. Use your own personal experiences and intense feelings for ideas. Short stories must lead up to something and arrive somewhere. They depict a character, plead a cause, or point out a moral. Short stories have one or two main characters. They distinguish them from the scores of other people possessing the same general traits by building a complete character upon a single trait, such as his large nose. Characters are patterned after the people of real life. Their hopes, fears, joys, sorrows, sins, moral victories of men. That is what interests us. Short stories incorporate more conversation, and then they let the dialogue give insight into the character's personality. The beginning paragraph, Chapter 3. Understanding how to best write the first paragraph of your short story is essential to the success of your short story. Chapter 3 consists of the following: 3 questions to be answered before even writing, 3 ways to write facts, and the right way to write the setting. This video session will be on the right way to write the setting. Manuscript submitted to the publishing houses. How many pages are read by the editor? The editor seldom reads more than the first page, the first 250 words. How many manuscripts end in the slush pile? 75% of all manuscripts received are rejected. Why? Editors have learned by experience, if the story lacks interest in the first page, it will be lacking throughout. If you cannot get to a story proper in the beginning paragraphs, there is something radically wrong, probably not in the plot, for the conventional brevity of the short story particularly requires conciseness in the introduction. How do you increase those odds for success? The beginning 2 or 3 paragraphs, often compressed into one, have to be as interesting as possible. It cannot be done without a thought-out plot. For example, the engagement was broken off before it was announced, so only 1,000 or so of the intimate friends and relatives of the parties knew anything about it. What they knew was that there had been an engagement, and that there was one no longer. The cause of the breach they merely guessed, and most of the guesses were, in most particulars, wrong. You want to know the reason the couple everyone expected to marry isn't going to marry. Each intimate and relative had a fragment of the truth. It remained for me to piece the fragments together. It was a difficult job, but I did it. Part of my evidence is hearsay. The majority portion is fully corroborated, and not one of my witnesses had anything to gain through perjury. So I am positive that I have at my tongue's end the facts, and I believe that in the justice to everybody concerned, I should make them public. Ellen McDonald had lived on the north side of Chicago for 21 years. Billy Bowen has been a Southern Sider for 7 years longer. but neither knew of the other's existence until they met in New York the night before the Army-Navy game. Within 184 words, the author has given us 3 essential answers to our facts and has perked our interest. Certain fundamental facts must be understood by the reader at the outset. They are the time, a couple in their 20s, the scene of the story, New York. The names, descriptions, characteristics, and relationship of the different characters, Ellen McDonald and Bill Bowen. The events prior to the story that may influence its development. Everyone assumed they would get married. Be sure the details are essential importance, with a definite influence on the story by having this knowledge up front. Another example is Stephen King's short story, The Boogeyman. Just in the first 50 words, he answers the 3 questions. I came to you because I wanted to tell my story, the man on Dr. Harper's couch was saying. The man was Lester Billings from Waterbury, Connecticut. According to his history taken from Nurse Victor's, he was 28, employed by an industrial firm in New York, divorced, and the father of 3 children, all deceased. The time and the scene of the story, 20-year-old man, and the scene is in the psychiatrist's office. The name, descriptions, and characteristics and relationships of the different characters, Dr. Harper and his patient, Lester Billings. And the events prior to the story that may influence its development, all children are deceased, which strongly has perked our interest to read on. Another example focusing on a single scene feature. Marie walked down the driveway of their home, one filled with the echoes of past warm memories where they raised their family, and one they planned to spend the rest of their lives on their Social Security income. She approached the white posted mailbox, as she did at the end of each day, and pulled out a heap of envelopes. Thumbing through the stack, her eyes caught an official white envelope addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Williams from the county court, with red stamped letters on the front. Notice of eviction. She froze in place. Time, the collapse of the real estate market, the scene of the story, the mailbox, the names, descriptions, characteristics, and relationship of different characters, Marie Williams and her husband, the homeowners. The relations of events prior to the story that may influence its development. The living the American dream of owning a home. Your homework? Take one of your short stories that you have written and rewrite it. At least the first paragraph. The first paragraph should be 50 to 150 words and should answer the essential 3 questions. In summary, what 3 questions to answer before writing? They are those certain fundamental facts that must be understood by the reader at the outset. First, the time, present, past, future, season, or a period in a human's life, and a specific scene feature. Second, the names, descriptions, characteristics, and relationship of the different characters. And third, the events prior to the story that may influence the story's development. These 3 questions have to be answered within 1 or 2 paragraphs. We will continue the chapter on the beginning paragraph. The next video will be on the 3 ways to write those essential facts.